The House is expected to vote today on Speaker Kevin McCarthy's bill to raise the debt ceiling with spending cuts. This is not a bipartisan exercise. It is an existential test for the House Republican majority. To pass that test, House Republicans made changes to the bill early this morning to win over holdouts in their own conference. Those changes include, among other things, having work requirements for recipients of government aid start earlier than originally drafted. Several Republican lawmakers who were previously opposed to the plan changed their minds in response. Top Democrats have pledged, as you just heard, to block this bill if it reaches the United States Senate. Nikole Killion joins us now. Nikole is a CBS News congressional correspondent. Nikole, it looks like the Speaker has the votes. Does he?
Well, that's certainly the hope. You know, Republican leaders have insisted all along that they were going to move forward with a vote this week, and they feel relatively confident that they can move forward. We do know that the Republicans did vote to advance a rule in support of this bill, and they did that without any defections. Now, the final vote may not shake out that way, but certainly that is a positive indication for leadership that at least they have the support to move forward in some capacity with this legislation.
And Nikole, remind our audience that for Republicans to have any leverage with the White House, which is adamantly opposed to the specifics of this legislation, it has to pass it. If it doesn't pass, Republicans lose all leverage. So they really have to do this to have any hopes of beginning conversations with the White House in pursuit of raising the debt ceiling.
Well, it's really about being on the same page, and so if Republicans can't be on the same page in terms of what they would like to see in terms of spending reforms when it comes to reining in spending, which they feel needs to be addressed, if there is a debt limit increase, then to your point, yes, they can't get much further in negotiations with the White House. That being said, though, the White House hasn't been that welcoming to negotiate with the Speaker. They still believe that there should be a clean debt limit increase and that there should not be preconditions, that is part of a separate discussion. So even if this bill passes, it's not clear if that will definitely bring the White House to the table.
And Nikole, you've also been covering another topic on Capitol Hill today, which is legislation about social media and children, right?
Yeah, that's right. And look, this is something that many parents deal with, you know, whether you have younger kids or older kids, you know, this issue of social media, particularly when it comes to digital devices on phones, on tablets. There's so many different ways they can access it. But there is a group of bipartisan senators that introduced a bill today that would actually restrict children under the age of 13 from using social media, and it would require parental consent for those who are between the ages of 13 and 17. So what many parents want to know is, can you enforce this? And that's the question that I put to two of the bill sponsors earlier today. Take a listen. How do you enforce this?
Well, the Federal Trade Commission will have the authority to enforce it, as well as state AGs. So the enforcement mechanism is very strong, and the compliance is relatively easy. There are lots of mechanisms for a more robust age verification system than the one they're doing now. The age verification that they're doing now is essentially asking a 12-year-old to say, "Are you 18?" And they click, "I'm 18," and now they're online.
There are many sources of technology that can do this very simple task of verifying the age of minors, and for those who are 13, 17, verifying the parent-child relationship so the parents can consent to allow them to open an account.
And we have seen some response from a few social media companies, including Meta, which sent us this statement: "We want teens to be safe online. We've developed more than 30 tools to support teens and families, including tools that let parents and teens work together to limit the amount of time teens spend on Instagram." You know, in terms of TikTok, they say that they are still reviewing this legislation, but point to safeguards that they've implemented. We haven't heard from some of the other social media companies, but that is a point that many of them have made, that they already have some safeguards in place. Whether or not that's enough to satisfy lawmakers, you know, they told us they do believe these controls should be in place because they're concerned about the impact and the toll that social media could be having on young people and their mental health.
Nikole, you've seen this. I've seen this. One way that Congress sometimes gets private entities to change behavior: draft legislation. So we'll see where this goes. Nikole Killion, thank you so very much. So for more
You
on the
bet.
previous conversation that Nikole and I were having about the future of the debt ceiling, let's bring in CBS News senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe. Ed joins us, of course, from the North Lawn. Ed, the White House issued a veto statement about the House legislation. That is as expected. Is the White House watching what's playing out on the House floor this afternoon?
They sure are, and they're unimpressed. And until or unless the House Republican leadership calls to say, we're ready to just raise the debt limit, at least for now, the White House says, don't call. And so the stalemate will continue. What is happening here, though, is, of course, the House, at least, will be on the record on this issue. Democrats salivating at the opportunity to call out what Republicans in tougher districts are going to end up doing here by voting for various cuts that they argue could cost jobs and health care and health security for a lot of Americans. But it will put the resolution of this no closer, other than perhaps to fulfill what the president has been calling for, and that is, show me your budget, show me your priorities, and I'll show you mine. He issued his budget in March. Now they're taking this vote tonight, and at that point, everyone's on the record with something, and we'll see at which point then they might consider sitting down, but don't clear your calendar just yet.
Ed, we were showing our audience some ceremonial video from earlier at the White House. We'll get to that ceremony in a second, but one more debt ceiling question. There are lots of people in the economic world who are wondering if a recession might come in the third or fourth quarter of this year. And it seems to me that Republicans, if they weren't in this position, could say that's entirely the president's fault and responsibility. I imagine the White House is prepared to suggest, if there is a default crisis, to shift any and all blame imaginable on any economic news, indifferent or bad, to House Republicans. I'm wondering about the politics of this.
Wait, ask that again, sorry?
So the politics of it from the White House side, to say House Republicans are steamrolling us towards something that will create uncertainty, which, whether there's a recession in the third or fourth quarter or not, this could bring it about sooner.
Forgive me, yes, that's exactly their argument. It's their fault, because they're going against decades of precedent where Congresses of either party have gotten together and just done this. Certainly been a lot of squabbling and complaining about it and suggestions that federal spending needs to be reined in. Then Senator Biden did it once or twice. Then Senator Obama did it once or twice. But otherwise, they say it's got to be done. What we've seen the president start doing in recent days is, to paraphrase or quote Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump, who said virtually the same thing the president is saying, which is, you don't screw with this. You don't touch the debt limit. You just raise it. Because all you're doing is paying off previous spending that you all have already approved, and you're irresponsibly playing with the fate of the U.S. economy otherwise.
Ed, catch us up on the preparations for tonight's state dinner with the South Korean leader and all the ceremony today at the White House to honor a vital ally in that region.
This has been on the books for several months. It is to honor a vital Asian ally, for sure, one, of course, that sits at a pretty sensitive spot. The U.S. announcing today it will be sending nuclear-armed submarines to dock, some say visit diplomatically, ports in South Korea to send a signal to North Korea about how serious the United States and its allies are about deterring its nuclear ambitions. There's been a debate in South Korea about whether that country should be developing its own nuclear weapon system. The U.S. and others trying to tell them, no, don't do that. We'll help you out here. And so by doing this, at least, it's a big symbol to the South Korean public and to the North Koreans and to the Chinese and the Russians and everybody else. We're serious about this, so much so that we're willing to send our own nuclear weapons right up to your doorstep. The state dinner tonight is expected to include hundreds of guests. We've been waiting for the guest list all day. We haven't gotten it just yet. But it is a reflection of the importance of this relationship. And this kind of day, where the president's now formal re-election campaign has made an ad buy and says it's going to be airing advertising in swing states, but the president is doing things like this, literally appearing to be presidential, hosting world leaders, sparring with Republicans on policy, is the kind of format and vibe you should anticipate from Biden land for at least the next several weeks. There are no current plans for bunting and adoring crowds in a basketball arena or in front of some pretty vista in Philadelphia or Phoenix or Atlanta anytime soon. The goal is to keep raising money and to keep him looking presidential when Republicans up on Capitol Hill and out on the campaign trail are fighting amongst themselves.
Bottom line, it's much easier to run for the presidency from the Rose Garden than from
the
a
Rose
basement.
Garden, exactly.
Than a basement. Ed O'Keefe.
They will do it.
Thanks so very much.